In this video, I will discuss the origin of the puntite beard, the best of my knowledge. I will talk about some key facts. Bear with me, this is an important video, and this should be my last video if I have time to make the oath on the Bible to be abstinent. Religions were made in the last 5,000 years especially to control sexual behavior in reaction to Main A uniting Egypt and starting civilization as we know it in the Black African Leopard Sun Temple tradition with an emphasis on the grace of the hawk. Scientists, merchants, and their sexually immoral allies have finally succeeded in destroying religion. It took almost 30 years for me to appreciate African quote-unquote martial arts, spirit warrior activities, and the fact that I am from a religiously significant royal family. I am not African American in the traditional sense, yet they still set the stage for my father to not teach me who I am. My whole life he taught me to appreciate and celebrate other cultures, even spiritually, while neglecting my own. Even after millions in free service, especially after you include his medical company, they still screened us out by the time most of you may even hear this video. I cannot stress enough that religions were made in the last 5,000 years especially to control sexual behavior in reaction to Main A uniting Egypt and starting civilization as we know it in the Black African Leopard Sun Temple tradition with an emphasis on the grace of the hawk, which is all one needs to understand strategy, speed, and physical contact, which is spiritually perfected by being right with the Spirit of God, whose greatest work is the sun and not man. The hawk, naturally and not trained, is the fastest known animal. The leopard is the perfect balance of strength, grace, and motion, and kitty cat-like agility. The hare is a great example of agility and elusiveness. You can't imagine what it is like to set the world record on camera, 15 hits in 1.2 to 1.4 seconds from Deontay Wilder's boxing range with karate gloves on, and have a mental prowess that is greater than any I have encountered, certainly due to my father's, against all odds, coming here speaking English as a third or so language. During the 60s, a brain surgeon, genetics, penniless during the 60s. I am 6'4", and certainly they would say people like me are just good at sparring because they are tall. Would they say that to Ali or Deontay Wilder? I could easily outmaneuver either in their prime, and it takes an extra mental prowess to balance a bigger body. I have one, certainly approaching over 100 if you count the same opponents that I've defeated more than once. And it made it clear to me that mind, body, and soul in a spirit warrior or martial art activity is the true foundation of mummification. It is the idea of not wanting to separate a martial artist, quote-unquote, pharaoh especially, body from the rest of the spiritual being. The ba, the ka, or the ki, or the chi. It was my duty to marshal man together, but people did not love and respect the pharaoh enough, yet I take responsibility for my part in the failure. And ask God, and not the devil or his minions, which include all secret societies and gang stalkers, to punish me thoroughly by Valentine's Day. And I take this oath of abstinence to redeem myself for past failed oaths, and in acknowledgement of mankind's, especially women's, failure to create a suitable helper, mind, body, and soul. And that'll be at the end of my video. Women should acknowledge that they lack the spiritual substance. They lacked the romantic understanding, and they were full of shallowness and betrayal, which prevented them, one way or another, from seeking me and me finding a suitable helper. They should acknowledge that from now on, as a group and publicly so. All martial arts schools should have my picture and explain the roots of martial arts. Igbo leopard Ra is the root to Amen's absorption and taking credit due to superimposition beginning in pre-dynastic time. Amen was of less importance than Mont. He didn't rise until the first intermediate period in the Middle Kingdom. When he began to become dominant. Hu means authoritative utterance. Think about a martial artist keying up or going haya, the ka. Hu man, right? The greatest embodiment of a man is somebody who is the greatest martial artist or spirit warrior for that reason, right? Authoritative utterance. He who should be in charge, the Pharaoh. Another way to look at it is the O man. Embodiment. O is the core of the sun. Ra. Ikenga, the strength of the sun, etc. C is intelligence. Sparring, okay, shows you the mix of the intelligence and the authoritative nature of he who is the best at it. A is Sia. A is backwards. And hike, Aki, which is magic. And of course, I reject all chemistry as forms of magic. This is more like a spiritual, magical event, in my opinion, which over time was usurped by those who seeked to use magic incantations. These are more like prayers to guide the Pharaoh along versus chemistry kit magic card bitches, as you can imagine. All right, so the usurpers were said to be not true of voice, and they were devoured by Amut, who would devour those who are not true of voice. So you need to focus on the solar divinity, Haru as the son of Ra. Shu plus Ra, Sa, Ra, Haru. Haru, Shu, Ra. So Ra, Shu, Haru, raise a hero. Do the wordplay. R-A-S, raise. Remove the H as the fence. A, because Sarah, Ra, Shu, raise a hero. So Ra with the S, and then remove the H, the A, then Haru, raise a hero. Before the cock has crowed, before my phallus has died, you will deny me 3 times. Ra, Haru, and Shu. You will deny all 3 of my forms, assign no importance to me, and I will die without leaving an heir. And therefore man will have purposely, and for all intents and purposes, destroyed divine reproduction. There will not be another. You have to do it each generation from the chosen. And they were kind of confused about who the chosen was. Eventually, during this time, for whatever reason, I believe they timed it out to a certain degree. Now it ends. And this has to do with this picture right here. This is key. Okay? This is the Ark of the Covenant, the E bow, right? It's an E, turned upside down, turned to this angle. This represents the bottom part of the heart. This is the bow, the string. Think about hamstring, stretching your hamstring strings. There's a lot of parallels you can draw there. This is the arrowhead. The shaft represents the phallus. Once the phallus is gone, the creation returns to God. It's no longer in earth. All right. So you draw the string. The word is God backwards with the A replacing the O is draw. Interchangeable. Words that are same forwards and backwards. That idea elaborated on, etc. Okay. The Son and the Spirit are the same. He's in Haru. The Word was with God. The Word is God. Haru. The Son of Man, the God's representative on earth. Hu Ra, the authoritative utterance of the person who represents Ra. Okay, human and a vine jar, avenger. Right. So this is where the jar is. Think about the canopic jars, the sons of Haru. Before the phallus has curled, mankind will deny my 3 forms. Think about the crow as a symbol of death. And of course that comes from before the cock has crowed. It's a variation that I came up with myself that fits this situation. The hawk, the lion, and the leopard. I do not dodge my spiritual fate. One must draw spiritual power from observe, of Haru's divine orders in the Spirit of God. So the word is God, drawing on the Spirit from the Son, who is the light beacon. He's the way, is the way to do it. And every generation, there's one man who's closest to God. Think of it as a mile run. You have to finish in 4 minutes. Obviously, running has very little to do with this. I'm the last person who can finish it within 4 minutes, so to speak. They can't do what I've done. Therefore, they might be the next closest every generation, but every generation will come up short now for that reason. All right. So be it by volley 9 day. Valentine with the wordplay. Volley 9. Think of it as shooting the last of the cycle. It's broken. It's returning upwards. Volley 9 day. The end of the cycle and my return. Cupid backwards is die pace with the U replaced with the A. Die pace, the S sound for the C. All right, so the pace of the death of God's spirit in man and the invention of the new man in the Luciferian image as all hope is lost. As we've been moving in this direction anyway, now it will be complete by Valentine's Day. Occult-centered Western culture has killed divine Christian Ra generation, or regeneration. Ikenga Ra is the sun's strength. Ra by itself means strength, or the sun, or the core. The shaft of the arrow is the phallus, or penis, the tip of the Ben stone, the most important. Try to not be your immature Western selves for one moment. The death of me is the death of my penis and the reproductive power therein. That potential creative energy is lost and cursed, is man, especially the central figures in this betrayal. You are supposed to follow my divinely inspired orders and continue the cycle of drawing on the Ebo for the A and O, completing reproduction and sending the signal arrow to God. Now only the energy returns, the cycle is broken, man is condemned, and soon the gate will be closed. Let one with wisdom calculate the date. Now I've kind of spelled it out for you, but I can't speak plainly for obvious reasons. I'm sure you'll figure it out eventually. Masons, intellect over superstition. Think about the ladder and the mirror. Why the mirror? Because it has to do with your image, the image of God, a reflection of the sun, the water, the mirror. Incidentally, in Ezekiel, it talks about the dragon in the Nile in Egypt. I'm sure you can find it for yourself. The ladder, right? Why is walking under a ladder superstitious, right? It has to do with superstition and bad luck, okay? Because you cross the paths. Instead of following the path up the ladder, you cross it. So if you're paying attention to the ladder and you go under it, instead of avoiding it or going up it, it has to do with Jacob's ladder. Jacob's ladder, Shu, the atmosphere, Ra, raise, A, Ra, Shu, and Haru, hero. So think about in the book Fighting for Honor, the African-born leader for the continuity of the Capoeira Society, Cap-O-I-R-E. That has to do with martial arts. Martial arts knew that you needed this continuity, and they're the foundation of all religions. All paths are reactions to the black martial artists' spiritual order. So they've twisted it and tweaked it as they left to suit their people and their needs and their philosophy, thus becoming hypocrites and creating religion out of jealousy, which could not be true. All right. So there's no leopard society in Angola, in the American secret societies of the Angolans, but leopard was referred to as the surgeon. Surgical strikes, surge is energy, and so on. I'm running out of time, so let me shoot through this. Religion in its pure form versus jealous reaction, not wanting to accept African spirit order. Logical path of reverent power, scientifically, logically, reasonably, once you've done your research, etc., versus criminal class and their infrastructure. Reason in all of its forms. A reason, using reason. Every significant religion, you come to the conclusion that I'm correct once you follow that train of thought to its finish. Karma, the core A, the Egyptian religion talks about Jewish, Christian, Abrahamic faiths, and so on. Raw production, Jesus said he'll destroy the temple and bring back his image or reproduce himself in 3 days. Reproduction, raw production, virgin birth, appreciating logic, science, 33 degrees, about 33 years old, I believe I read, was the average lifespan of the ancient Egyptians. Maritime Admiralty Law, Universal Commercial Code, birth rate. You're in the same ship, you're in the same boat now as the elite and the Satanists. The punt-type beard, the panther, punt, to kick, pant, punt, panther, panter, panteri, pantera, propel with a pole to punch.